So I'm just in the bath and doing some meditating, and I was thinking about radiation. I don't know what brought me into that thought, and the fact that oh yeah, that's what it was. It started because I wet my hair and drops of water came down, and they didn't get into my eyes because of my eyebrows. So I had the thought, wow, I'm so happy humans have eyebrows to help with the water. And then I thought to myself, we sure do get wet a lot, like as a species. Like there is a lot of water in our lives. And I said, I guess we get wet almost every day with, taking a shower. And then this voice popped in, and it came through as, some being. I think it was Hira. And Hira chimed in and said, well, there's a better way to do that. And I said, what do you mean there's a better way to do that? And he said, there's a better way to wash yourself instead of using water in a shower. And I said, okay, well, what is that? And he basically showed me this device that I guess they have on the GFL ship. And like a being will stand in this device. It kind of looks like a metal detector that you walk through, but really you're just like standing right in the middle of it. And then there are like, I don't know if it's like lasers or like what the technology is, but it basically tracks and eliminates all like bacteria and parasites and like random like shit on your body. And then I had to ask like, well, does it get rid of the smell? I'm sure even interdimensional beings can smell and like get stinky and stuff. And he said, yeah, but it even takes care of that. And then I said, well, what about the radiation? Like, wouldn't there be a lot of radiation? I'm just thinking about standing in the middle of a metal detector. And that's how we got into radiation. And so he said, oh no, like all our technology protects against radiation. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he showed me that inside this like weird metal detecting shower thing, it is lined on the inside of the metal with some sort of like, I don't know if it's like a coating or an insulator. And he said that it was because I asked him, I'm like, oh, is it similar to the EMF, like radiation protection devices? Like I'm thinking like the Faraday bag, like it's silver, I think it's lined with silver or something. Anyway, he said it's similar to that, but it's better. Like obviously the technology is much better. And he said that it was a composite. That's the word he used, a composite of materials. I don't really know. He didn't explain what composite, probably things that we're not super familiar with. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I said, you guys basically have the same sort of like kind of EMF protecting stuff. So I said, so radiation from technology is out there too, which I knew before because they've told me. And I said, and it's bad enough that you protect against it. And so he went on to say that all of their ships are lined with this like radiation protection layer. He said that when they do take humans are extra sensitive to radiation, especially the high levels of radiation that come with their technology, their super advanced technology. And so they said that every ship has a different level of radiation protection, which is interesting. And like some ships are like more advanced and they have a higher level of radiation protection. Some ships are not as advanced and they don't have as much, and so humans are more affected by that. And he was talking about the nose bleeding that happens with humans, with abductions sometimes. And there's definitely some other like radiation poisoning that happens. And so he said that also like the suits, and they've told me this before, the Galactic Federation has told me this before, but the suits that they wear are actually like specifically designed to help prevent radiation poisoning. And he said every species has a different biological makeup and they're all basically affected differently, right? Like within the Galactic Federation. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. And he said, this is the part that really got me, and that's why I had to record this. He said, humanity isn't quite there yet, but he said eventually, this is so cool, eventually all of our technology is going to have radiation protection inside of it. And he said that this isn't a new concept for humanity. He said that all the manufacturers on planet Earth don't care enough, because not enough people know about radiation poisoning. He said that they don't care enough to spend the money, because he said that it was expensive. Like, I mean, on planet Earth, right? We're talking on Earth. It's super, so they know how to do it. They know how to protect against radiation. And I even asked, I said, do all the devices work the same? Like, would a Wi-Fi router work the same if the whole thing was coated in radiation protection? Like, I don't know how those things work. And he said, yes, there's a way that you can do it. Hence the composite that they use, where all devices work perfectly, but the harm involved, the frequencies that are emitted involved, they don't affect us. So I'm like, okay. And so he said, eventually, like basically in my lifetime, we will see radiation protection because humanity demands it. We're going to start to see phones that have radiation protection within it. And we're going to start to see Wi-Fi routers and like pretty much the big stuff, right? TVs, even microwaves with this protection, because humanity is going to demand it. But that's like, that felt like probably maybe even 10, 15, 20 years away, right? Like we're kind of away from that. But he said it's so, and then I said to him, I'm like, well, fuck, like my generation is screwed then. Like, look at all the people, especially the kids these days, who have had 20 years of technology, 20 years of radiation, and it's only getting worse. 5G and like, I mean, cell phone, whatever dinging, whatever cell phones do, like it's getting worse. So I'm like, we're screwed. Like we're all going to get cancer or something. And what did he say? No, this is really interesting. This is the part that I don't know, that I like the best. He said that, hold on, I'm going to get the word. I'm too excited. I got to get the words. What is it? Oh, he said that right now, like our planet is in a technological and spiritual revolution is how he put it. Specifically just focusing on the technology right now. Technological revolution. And he said, you're going to be progressing. Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, it's like a bunch of information. He said, you're going to be progressing exponentially. And he was also mentioning how, and this is so fascinating, like such a fascinating perspective. And then I want to get to like the juicy stuff. He said, he was talking about, he's like, imagine if Neanderthals had the internet. And I asked him, I said, in what regard, like in what perspective, like in what way, basically, right? Because the internet can be used for so many different things. And he said, in the way that the internet is sharing knowledge among others. So what if there was a Neanderthal in the Philippines who all of a sudden like invented fire or whatever, and then, this is gonna sound ridiculous, and then posted this video on, hey everyone, here's how I made fire. Boom. Everyone around the world advances immediately, right? Everyone around the world gains these tools immediately. And we're just talking like fire, like a basic need, like for Neanderthals, right? But like I relate that same sort of comparison to my life as a mom. And I'm like, you know what? Me and my mom talk about, we're one generation apart, right? Or two, I don't know how the generations work, but we're obviously like different ages. And when she was a mom 30 years ago, there was no social media. She said the only thing that she had to mother, to parent, was her mom, right? And her mom's experience and the book What to Expect When You're Expecting. Like, what? And that is just 30 years ago, right? And so now as a mom, I'm like, well, what should I feed Bodhi today? Or like, whatever, right? Like, and it's like, oh, mom hack, as silly as it can be. It's like, oh my God, like that really does. And so everyone's getting information, everyone's getting upgraded. And so he was mentioning this, and he was mentioning how and with AI, I mean, come on, right? Like AI can now solve problems that humans never could, find cancers and x-rays that could never be found. Like, I mean, it's just exponential, right? AI can now, we had this years ago, and it's so sketchy, and like there's a lot of issues with it, specifically because man programmed AI, which is the problem. So, but besides the point, not going to get into a black hole. It's exponential. That's the point. It's exponential. So in our lifetime, we're going to have solution to radiation poisoning, which is a layer of material within technological devices that does not interrupt its connection and service. All it does is interrupt the bad gamma rays or whatever the fuck go from that device into us. So that's really cool to know. But then my question was like, we're fucked, right? Like, so full circle, we're fucked. And he said, actually, no. He said, this is crazy. You all needed to be exposed to a certain level of radiation because your technology is advancing so rapidly. And like, I mean, think about and he didn't mention this as a side note, but think about in our lifetime, us like publicly joining forces with extraterrestrials, doing a public trade of technology and information, and all of a sudden publicly having ET technology. Like, that's going to happen. I hope it happens in our lifetime, right? But we're going to advance. And when we get this technology, we need to have a certain base level of exposure, or else we could very easily die in a matter of days or weeks or months from this radiation poisoning from the rapidly advancing technology. So he said that the reason why there hasn't been an implementation, or more so of this EMF, like radiation protection, like I've seen now clothing and like toques and things like that, which is great even for kids. And that's part of it, right? Like you could think of it as like the suits that the GFL wears. And so the reason why we don't have that protection now is because we wouldn't build up the resilience. So we're actually slowly getting exposed and slowly building up this resilience to radiation. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? And then one more thing, and then I'm going to stop. He also mentioned that and I don't know if this is scientifically proven, but this is what he's saying. Our exposure, and let's just call it resilience, our resilience to radiation is it's in our genetics. So right now, like within our genetics, I guess we have some ET, right? We've got some ET like DNA. But within our human, like we're very soft. Like it's just, we're so susceptible. And so he's saying that once this generation gets exposed, we pass that exposure along. And like personally, I try and do as many, radiation protection things and they're so expensive. I don't know, like it's just, so I think in our lifetime, they're just going to get cheaper, more accessible. And I think devices themselves, because of the demand of the people, are going to all come with radiation protection. And what we're going to do, just like we fucking look for organic food in the store, and we're okay paying a little bit more for it because of that. It's crazy how we have to pay more for not to be poisoned, Anyway, but it's going to be the same. Like people are going to seek out the highest. There's going to be like a radiation protection rating, and people are going to pay more to seek out the highest rating. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of shopping for freaking dishwasher, right? You're like, what's the DPI? And I don't even know what that stands for, like the sound quiet score. You know what I mean? It's just for dishwashers. Anyway, so you look for the quietest dishwasher. It's so expensive. And then you're like, screw it. Like, I'll hear it. It's no big deal. But that's what it's going to be like. So I don't know. I don't even know how I got into this, but oh yeah, the eyes and the water, the eyebrows. Anyway, I had to document this because it was too much to type, really.